have a hard time believing the whole system is fundamentally racist. Okay, how the fuck would it not be systemically racist? Like, if you had any understanding of history, you would see that it would be a fucking miracle, a work of God, if the system was magically not racist by now. Like, it's only been 60 years since black people got equal rights, legally speaking, right? That's well within a lifetime. The people who were in charge then are in charge now, many of them. So you're going to tell me that the same people being in charge, that all the racism disappeared. All of it's gone. It just disappeared from their minds. And you're going to tell me that despite it taking 100 years in a war to get rid of slavery and another 100 years to get equal protections, you're going to tell me it only took 60 to get rid of all the rest of the racism? That all the rest of it was gone in half the time? Really? That's what we're doing here? I mean, come on. That's fucking ridiculous. Like, should it be gone? Of course. But by you saying it's not, you don't have to fight it. Because if it doesn't exist, there's nothing to fight. So you're a lazy fuck and a racist who doesn't want to fight racism because it's easier to just pretend it doesn't fucking exist. But it most certainly does. Everywhere. It's fucking everywhere, dude. Everything. So when people are like, oh, liberals call everyone racist. Yeah, because most things actually are fucking racist. Genuinely, in this country. Like, if you look at the history of most, like, I'm a history major. The more I learn, the more racist the world seems. Genuinely. Because it's fucking everywhere. And to think that in 60 years we've gone from no equal protections under the law to magically a perfect utopia free of systemic racism, that is a fucking fairy tale. That is insane to think that people would just let that happen. That with all the racist people from the 60s are still alive, dude. Like, they're still here. Many of them. They still run things. So the question is not how could the system be racist. The question is how would the system not be racist?
What's up, real ones? Welcome to Let's View It. Have I ever told you guys I can't stand Officer Brandon Tatum? And that's why I'm making my final part 3. That's right, this is the finale of me exposing him and responding to the debate that he's having on his college campus. Basically just telling them that black people are victims. Well, not victims. That's what he doesn't want you to think. That they play victimhood. Is that how you say it? Playing victimhood? Is that what black people are doing? Are we playing victimhood? But you get what I'm saying, that we basically make excuses for our downfalls. For the black culture not striving at the highest peaks. But anyways, this is my season finale. Unfortunately, this will be my last part of me exposing him during this debate. It won't be my last video on him probably because he says such crazy stuff, but this will be the last time that I talk about this particular debate. But before I get into that, I wanted to start this video off because I got one comment from part 1. And I'm not trying to put this person on blast or anything. Actually, I'll probably cover the name while I'm talking about it. I think this person made this comment because this is their opinion and they were being respectful about it. And I actually think there's a huge group of people that have the same opinion as this comment. So I think it's a good way to open up discussion. So here it is, and I'm going to respond to it line for line. So the first thing this comment says is, the point is if you think you have no opportunity, then you won't go looking for it. Now, I would say this to that statement. That wasn't the point of the discussion. That wasn't the point of Brandon Tatum even being up there. But that is the point that the discussion turns into when you're dealing with people who think like this, because most likely they heard it from their political circle. They heard it from someone else and it sounded good to them. And at face value, they accept it and then they regurgitate it. They never fully think about what they are saying. Because the point of the discussion is that the black culture is behind because of all the oppression and unfair things that was done to us. That's the point. The reason why we're behind financially, the reason why we don't have dads in the family, The reason why crime rate is high in black areas is not all, but a huge reason why is because of everything that was done to black people and those black areas. It was manufactured. So what the argument is that when you're coming from these black areas, it is a lot harder to succeed in America. A lot harder. That is the discussion. And all people have to say is, well, yeah, that is true. But what happens instead? They start making points that aren't about the topic, like, well, if I tell you you have no opportunities, then you won't go looking for none. And if you think about that statement on a deeper level, what it's basically saying is, even though black people have less opportunities or unfair opportunities, instead of acknowledging it, let's just lie to them, and then they will start looking for these opportunities that we lied to them about. And don't get me wrong, I get it. If you keep telling people to be positive and keep striving, that they can make it, that can motivate them to do better. That can motivate them not to give up. So if that's the point that that statement is trying to make, then it could be taken insulting that you think the black culture tells other black people that they should just give up. We have never been a people that just give up. That also is a false narrative. And I'll go deeper into that later in the video. But lastly, no one has ever said we have no opportunities. No one has ever said that. At least in all my years of living, I'm 43 now, I have never heard one black person or white person actually say this statement and mean it to the definition of no opportunities. Maybe like when you're talking to your girlfriend or whatever, and you're like, you always do such and such. But obviously they don't always do it. It's just annoying and they do it enough. Maybe someone said it like that, like, we get no opportunities, but not literally no opportunities. If you ask them to clarify, obviously they would have to retract that. And the way I know no one has ever had that stance is because it's too easy to disprove. In order to prove black people have no opportunities, you would have to find no successful black people. And obviously there are successful black people, so hence we have some opportunities. And I believe the person that made this comment understands that. This goes to show that when you're trapped in that political way of thinking, you would just say things that you heard. You would just regurgitate them without truly thinking about it, because no one has a stance that we have no opportunities. That's just too extreme. The only time that ever really became close to true was during slavery and possibly a little bit after slavery. Even in Jim Crow, we had some opportunities. Now let's go on to the next line. Tatum is grifting this guy to think for himself. No, he absolutely is not. He's grifting them to think like Tatum and everybody else that thinks like Tatum. Obviously, the guy already thinks for himself. He's a successful young black person that's literally speaking the opposite of what he's living. If that's not thinking for yourself, then what is? Let's go to the next line. If you want to bring race into this, then you are a few steps behind, because the issue is culture. Black America culture has not improved. Again, this is not to be disrespectful in any means, but this person doesn't know what they're talking about. They are just regurgitating what they hear. The black culture used to strive. There was a time when we were doing very, very, very well, and everything got destroyed. And we have never reached that same peak again. And I'm going to talk about it more in this video because so many people don't know this. We were doing good. We never really were a destructive people. This was manufactured. And to prove my point more, look at the black culture a little bit after we got free and into Jim Crow. Were we gangbangers? Were we doing crack? Were we selling crack? Did we dress like gangbangers? Were we killing each other? No, we were actually striving pretty good considering how unfair the world was to us. We were just trying to get jobs. We were just trying to survive. We were trying to get what everyone else had. That's it. Now look at the Black culture now. What happened? Where did this big change happen? It happened like in the 80s. That's when it happened. Through the crack epidemic, gang banging, and all of this has a history to it of how it became what it is. Gang banging didn't start how you probably think it started. It didn't start as a violent crime organization. That's not how it started. And to all you youngsters, before YouTube, before all this internet, music was highly controlled. The only way you could become a rap star was through a record label and a bunch of white executives. That's it. That was the only way. And in the 80s, guess what became really popular to promote to the Black culture? Gangster rap. And guess who had to put it out to the Black culture? White people. What I'm trying to say is, a lot of this stuff is manufactured. A lot of this stuff was manipulated. It's not natural. Look at the Black culture in the 60s, 50s, 40s, 30s, 20s, and look at it now. It's not the same, not even close. And to address that the Black culture hasn't improved, that's clearly not true. We went from not being able to read to clearly being able to read. The number of Black business owners is on a slow but steady incline. The amount of money that Black households make is a little bit more now. We are improving very slowly. But like I said, we were above this at one point. Everything got destroyed. And we never quite bounced back the same yet. But I thank this person for this comment. Now, let me get to destroying Tatum for the very last time. So you already know. Let's view it.
I'm more so, I feel like this is gonna ruffle some feathers and kind of get me,
Oh, ruffle some feathers?
ruffle some feathers.
Don't worry about it. You gotta tell the truth. Jesus ruffle feathers all the time.
I wanted to agree with you. It was a conversation you were having with the other dude. I feel like as Black people, we do victimize ourselves a lot. I see it in our community, and I used to be one of those Black people who were like, I really like almost had this hatred for white people because that's what all they were showing me until I actually went out and I started to go places and I started to see interacting with white people, and I was seeing how not every white person was bad, and it was shocking me how they were so nice. And so basically I just want to say slavery.
Let me jump in real quick, and this is to people who think that all white people are racist. It's not true. Especially to Black people who think that. It's not true. You want proof? Are you still a slave? Are you still a slave? Well then, not all white people are racist. Don't believe the hype. I know they feed us this Martin Luther King stuff and this Rosa Parks stuff, but in the end of the day, I promise you, both of them, any Black person that truly made a change when it comes to our rights had white people that cared behind them. Our voices didn't matter like that. They still might not matter like that. If you think our voices matter so much, why will we ever be slaves? You don't think we said, hold up, I don't like that whipping, and I don't like doing this for free. You think we just stay quiet and all the white people are like, well, I guess no news is good news? Of course not. Of course we showed that we didn't like that shit. It doesn't matter if we like that shit or not. It always takes white people to back us to actually make a change. It's their country. They put it together. That's how it works. Rosa Parks could have kept refusing 1,001 times, getting arrested every single time, if no white person said, you know what? She has a point. Nothing would have changed.
That is a very sensitive topic. However, my personal opinion is that we're in 2024, and it's a new time. And I'm not saying forget about it, but I just feel like we as black people shouldn't just sit around and mope about it all day. Every time I get on another social media platform, all they talk about is slavery. And I understand that that is very important. It's a very sensitive topic, and I don't want to be desensitive to it, like insensitive to it. But I understand it. However, I just feel like it's more to us as a black community.
Yes.
Like in schools, all they teach us is we are known as are the people who were oppressed. I feel like we are a very creative people. We are very fun. We play a very key role in the making of America today.
She literally answered one of her own questions. She says she gets on social media and sees everyone talking about slavery, and then says, in schools, all they teach us is that we were slaves and oppressed. Well, that's all that people talk about. Schools brainwash people. They want us to focus on slavery so we don't focus on the Jim Crow eras and everything in between that our grandparents went through, that our great-grandparents went through. They don't want that to be the focus. So they focus on slavery just so people can say, well, how's that affect you? You're not a slave. I didn't own a slave. And then we continue on with the same nonsense.
In society today, and I just feel like we are more than just slavery. We are more than just the people who were killed. We are more than just a people who were once illiterate. And a lot of people can argue about black rights, but I definitely feel like it went downhill once we decided to dwell in civil rights, because I feel like they only do what, in some sense, to an extent, they can only do what we allow.
100%.
How we had schools, but we chose to mope around and cry about them not letting us into their schools.
Yeah.
It's like we have to make it like you said, we have to use the cards that we have and play the cards that we're dealt. I just feel like constantly staying stuck in this victim mindset that every white person is out to get us. I just feel like it's very.
We agree. We agree. It's interesting.
Of course they agree. They're both ignorant on the subject. It's called segregation. What black people wanted is for the segregation to end so that everybody can have the same opportunities, because obviously the black schools weren't as good as the white schools because of funding, which was decided off of tax brackets and property values and all kinds of loopholes that they knew would negatively impact the black community.
Because I would imagine that every single person standing here would agree with you, right? I mean, I don't know how trying to get black people exposure as being greater than just this victim mentality, how is that bad? We know about the martyrs, but we don't know about the successful black people that have done so many great things in America. Like the automatic transmission in a motor vehicle today, a black man made it. The stoplight, a black man. Black people have invented so many things. We don't know who invented what, but we know who's the last one that got killed by a police officer. George Floyd got so much coverage, which I think what happened to him was wrong. But my God, they made a statue out of the guy. But they won't even talk about Ben Carson.
Again, who controls the media? This guy made a comparison trying to show the ignorance of a lady saying that she didn't know who Ben Carson is. Carson? Hell, I don't even barely know who he is. I heard his name before, but I don't know who he is because I don't do politics. But that she knew who Beyonce is. Well, celebrity status is not the same thing. That means nothing. People probably know who SpongeBob is more than Ben Carson. But anyways, who do you think controls the media? Who do you think puts these stories out there? Everything is controlled. Politics is a weapon they use against us to make sure we stay divided.
People don't even know who Ben Carson. I mean, I won't say most. I hope that most people know who Ben Carson is.
I don't even know who that is.
Raise your hand if you know who Ben Carson is. Oh my God, that's insane. You guys don't know who Ben Carson is right here? Y'all know who Ben Carson is? That's what just happened here. He ran for president. He is one of the greatest black men to ever live. And it's crazy that we know George Floyd, but we don't know Ben Carson. It's, Ben Carson, a neurosurgeon, he the first person in world history to separate conjoined twins at the head. Nobody in the world has ever done that. Ben Carson was the first.
Why is it shocking to Tatum that when George Floyd is put all over the world on everybody's screens, that they know who he is?
That's just astonishing.
Again, who controls the media? That's not black people's fault or white people's fault. I think almost everybody in America knows who George Floyd is compared to Ben Carson, but he's blaming black people? And you know what? I find it funny how he talks about all these things that black people have done, knowing that we've been oppressed, yet says we're constantly making bad decisions.
He's one of the greatest men that lived. He's brilliant. He came from humble beginnings. His mama was poor. His mama couldn't read. That guy had an incredible story, and we should know him more than we know these other people.
Yeah, and I feel like
It does. So you know who he is. Good.
yeah,
Good.
and I just feel like, you know, as a society, we should magnify black success more than we talk about black oppression. And
Right.
you know, I feel like we as a people, I feel like there's a spiritual warfare on a human race,
Yeah.
not just black people, because we're not the only people in time who's ever been oppressed. Like,
Right, I
there's
know.
other races that has been through things too. It's just that we magnify ours more, and we, you know, kind of dwell in that a little more.
Yeah.
You know, I just feel like
You have
all
a
in
question?
all,
You have a question in there? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I just want to say, I really just want to say something, because
Yeah.
I just feel like it's kind of crazy to.
When it comes to America's history, no race has been oppressed like black people. Probably in the whole world. Everyone likes to say people had slaves all over the place. America was the first time to do slavery as in the form they did black people, in a dehumanizing way, where we weren't even people, that we were strictly just property. All the other slaveries were conquer and destroy, meaning we beat you guys, so now you're gonna work for us for free. And also, most people only know what they learned in school about slavery, so all they know is that we picked cotton and we got whipped. But that's just the surface of everything. If you understood the horrors and the true torture of what slaves gone through and what was done to them, you'd want to throw up in your mouth. You'd be like, but again, that's another big false narrative that likes to get pushed, that other races have actually gone through as much as we have, for as long as we have.
So I just feel like division is stupid.
Right, and let me tell you this. When people say, is America racist? I don't think systemically America is racist. I think that there's people that are unsuspected actors that are racist against black people, and they are our friends, our allies.
Yeah.
The Democrat Party, people do not know the history of this. I didn't. I had to learn this. They're the party of slavery. The 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment that was signed was unanimously supported by Republicans, not Democrats.
Right.
Democrats filibustered the Civil Rights Act. Democrats were the party of slavery. They used the KKK as the Democrat enforcement arm. And then they say the party switch and they get away with it. It's insane to me.
Yeah.
Let me tell you this. If you loved black people, what would politicians do? Not give you a handout. They'll go down and look at that school and say, why is this school failing?
Yeah.
Let's get people an adequate education so they
Yeah.
can perform, and they don't want to do.
Just to give him his credit, it's true the Democratic Party were the ones to be known to own slaves. But I honestly think that obviously Republicans probably own slaves too. Maybe not statistically as much, but I have a feeling that some of them might have. But it really doesn't matter because, like I said in my other videos, they need both sides, but they're on the same team. So you create a side that's the racist side, and one's the non-racist side. And then years later, what do? You flip it. Now you got people confused and loyal to the wrong side. It's like the perfect plan. You gotta realize that everything is controlled to keep us confused, to keep us divided, and to keep us basically not focused on God.
They want you to be ignorant.
Yeah.
They want you to have poor schools. They want crime to be rampant in your community. They put abortion clinics on every corner. They got a liquor store on every corner. They put drugs in the community because they know people gonna sell it to each other. All of this, and what do? We call them our ally.
And they just
Let me say this one thing. If a person tells you that that white supremacy or white privilege is a thing, that person's lying to you.
Yeah.
They hate you and they want you to always feel inferior to white people.
Yeah.
There is nothing. Hold on, wait a minute. Be respectful to the young lady here.
Did he really just say that? Did he really just say that if anybody tells her that white privilege exists, it's because they hate you? Tatum, you should be ashamed of yourself. White privilege exists. It's just not what people want it to be. It's not that they're all born rich. It's not that they're all born with no problems. It's not even that their life was easy. It's that their race is never a concern to them when they live in this country. It's that simple. White people have an option to just not care, to ignore it. A lot of white people say they're not racist, and they're not. But then there's a different level of white people that are anti-racist. And those are the white people that make changes happen for black people. Those are the people that understand what their white privilege is. There are white people that will admit it. They're not scared to admit it. Why do you think they admit it while others say it doesn't exist? You think white people just want to lie and say they have a privilege that doesn't exist? And how do you not have this privilege when you basically started and run this whole country since the beginning of the government system? How do you not have any privilege whatsoever if you were never a slave, never oppressed, never turned down for loans because of your skin color? How did all this happen and you didn't gain one privilege from it? If the stories were switched, guess who would have the privilege? You got it, black people. But that's what white privilege is. When a white person says there is no white privilege, I didn't get a white privilege check in the mail, that shows they have white privilege. The problem is white privilege is looked at as your life is easy or your life was easy. And nobody likes to hear that. Nobody wants to be told that their life is easy. Tell Kim Kardashian that she didn't have to earn a dime. Everything was easy because she's basically been rich her whole life and she'll lose it. If you tell someone they were born with a silver spoon in their mouth, they will instantly start defending themselves. Like, yeah, but my mouth was really small.
If you got a question, you can go next. Okay, just be respectful to the young lady. So, if they really was honest, they would encourage young black people to feel and believe that they're just as good as anybody else.
Right.
Not tell you that some white person somewhere is better than you.
Yeah.
I mean, white people poor too.
Yeah.
And you guys who are at this university,
See? White people are poor too. Duh. That's not what white privilege is. If that's what it was, then how can anyone claim it exists? How can anyone claim that? People know there are poor white people. Everybody knows there are poor white people. So if white privilege means there are no poor white people, then clearly it doesn't exist and we don't need to have this conversation. But more importantly, how is telling someone that white privilege exists, that white people are better than black people? It's a set of circumstances. It has nothing to do with the actual person.
especially speaking of black people, what a white person on campus can do that you can't do.
Yeah.
You go to the same classes, you have the same teachers, you have the same books,
Same
you have the same
opportunities.
24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
many black people at this university, hopefully I'm talking to a few of them, that you will make straight A's at this school.
Right.
And you will have a great education. And you will pick a major that's going to be a great investment for your future. And you're going to go on in this country and you're going to dominate.
Right.
You're going to be great, you're going to raise a family, you're going to do all those things because nobody can stop you.
Yeah.
That should be the message.
See how he changed the conversation to, you should just tell people to overcome? Yes, of course. You should always tell people they're going to be great. You should always tell people they're going to overcome. But you're talking to a girl that's standing in the middle of a college. Go say that to a girl that's standing on the corner in the streets because her daddy was in prison, her mom was on crack, and when she was young, she got swooped up by some perverts and pimps, and now this is what she's doing. Not that she could have not did it, but I kind of understand how she got there. Go to that person and say the same load of bull to them. Again, she is an outlier. She doesn't represent what the black community is going through.
But instead, that's not the message.
Yes, I agree with that. Just one thing, I do feel like because we're black, we do have we have a lot more challenges than, but I do feel like we all do have the same opportunities like as white people, but I feel like, well, times are very different now. I mean, and I feel like a lot of black people are speaking from a more like...
Again, the word opportunities is used wrong. Opportunities is a set of circumstances that surrounds you or helps you to make a goal. What these people are talking about is we have the same right to set the same goal. I can try to be a doctor, you can try to be a doctor, no matter if you're man, woman, black, white, Chinese, whatever. But the path to try to become that doctor is nowhere near even if you're coming from a black community. Everything you have to dodge, everything you have to overcome is now a variable of if you're going to even be able to do this. And the difference is this: the deck is stacked, right? You could be in a white community and maybe your parents don't have that much money, so you focus on your schoolwork, get your grades up. But in a black community, your parents might not have money. Plus, when you walk outside, there's a bunch of gangs and hookers and drug dealing. Plus, when you go to your class, ain't nothing but a bunch of people that act up or more gangbangers and drug dealing. Plus this, plus that. Then, when you weave through all that mess, get your diploma, get yourself to college, then you can try to become your doctor. Do you understand how much focus and mental strength that would take? That's like someone that always works out, eats healthy, tells you you can do it. You just got to put your mind to it. And guess what? You still can't do it. You still didn't do it. But this is supposed to be easier.
Yeah, they're like
they're
in the
speaking
past.
from a past, and it's like America has changed a lot today.
Right.
In some ways, I feel like that's not as significant, but I do feel like in some areas, in some instances, black people do have a little more obstacles
And
than
I
black
agree.
people.
I agree with you. And everybody has obstacles.
Yeah.
You know, we can't feel like we're just uniquely
Right.
situated where we just have more issues than anybody else. Man, everybody got problems.
Yeah.
When I was a cop and I patrolled the poor white neighborhoods, they had the same issues that I remember growing up and experiencing. Just the only difference was they didn't have gangs.
Yeah.
It wasn't no gangs, but poor, ain't got no daddy, ain't got nothing to eat, on food stamps,
Yeah.
terrible schools, getting judged at the stores. I mean, you get a guy coming in with sores on his scratching his neck, man, the store owner like, this is a crackhead, it's a meth head. And they get discriminated against too in some cases. You know, one thing that I think that people should be talking about is classism.
Yeah, we get if you're fucked up, you're fucked up. You're going to fail, you're going to fail. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about. We're not saying white people can go be meth heads and losers and still succeed. That's not what we're saying. Even though in some cases that is true, most of the time that's not true.
Racism is less of an issue in America than classism. If you are Tariq Hill, you can drive, I don't know how many
It's Tyreek Hill, not Tariq Hill.
miles per hour and play the victim. Tariq Hill's rich. He can pay a ticket like it's nothing.
Yeah.
You know, if you P. Diddy. Speaking of P. Diddy, how does man go this long doing all that dirt and all of a sudden he get caught, I don't know how many decades later. I mean, when you got money, you in a different level. I don't care what color you are.
Right.
You can afford a lawyer. So if you poor, white, black, or different, you get in trouble with the law.
We know this. We already know if you're rich, you have an advantage. We know if you're black and you're rich, you have an advantage. The point is that black people don't have the same opportunities, the same circumstances coming from these black communities, coming from the ghettos, coming from the hoods. Yes, once they get out, if they become a billionaire or a millionaire or a CEO, then obviously they're going to be able to enjoy the fact that they're rich and act like they're better than everybody else. We know that. That's not the point of this topic. We're not saying that America is still so blatantly racist across the board that no matter what we do, somehow the white man's gonna try to put us back down. That's not what we're saying. This is what Tatum turns it into because everything has to be extreme with them, so there's no compromise. When there's no compromise, there's no progress.
You get a public defender, and that same public defender suck for a black person and white person the same. I'm not saying all of them suck, but they're not equipped like if you had to pay for a person to defend you.
Right.
That's a poor thing. Rich people get away with doing stuff all the time. They get away with these white collar crimes and all this stuff because they got the money to deal with it.
But he didn't get away with it though.
Here, let's. You have a question? Come on, ask your question.
No, my brother right here was next. He been waiting a lot longer than me.
Okay. He can switch you if you want. Go ahead.
Sorry, we have time for one more.
Okay.
Come on, now we can do half and half.
I'll let him do half and half.
We can do half. Yeah, I'll go first. Yeah.
Go ahead.
What I want to say first is that I understand what you're trying to say, and I would like it if more Republicans were like you. However, some of the issues and some of your talking points, I feel like you're removing some context. Like even with the whole thing, you talked about Rosa Parks, how, her husband owned a car and all that. That's not the point. They were doing that to protest. Even if you do have a car, there are probably plenty of black people that did.
Did you hear the part that I said that we had our own bus line?
I know, but we shouldn't have that. Because you were talking about how everyone should be together, we should all unify. But if we stay separate, if we keep having black water fountains and white water fountains, white schools and black schools, we'll never have that unity. And even with these people out here, there are gay, trans people all over the place. And then you have like your little people in the background, oh, only two genders. Like you're not gonna make unity.
We're provoking a conversation so people can come to the mic and have a conversation. That's what it is. If we don't have some issues out here for people to know where we stand or to provoke conversation, nobody's gonna come and talk. So some of those things is to provoke a conversation.
This guy was talking about Rosa Parks, right? And Tatum goes, well, did you hear where I said we had our own bus line? Meaning, why did Rosa Parks do what she did when she could have just got on the black bus? This young man saying, that's dumb, Tatum. If we would have did that, we would have stayed segregated, which is true. If we just stayed in our black schools, black buses, black water faucets, black restaurants, then we would have just stayed segregated. Rosa Parks had to say, I don't care if we have a black bus line. I think we should be able to ride the same damn buses. And when I get on a white bus, I should be able to sit wherever I want. Rosa Parks was trying to make it so that we can blend and be together. But Tatum, I guess, thinks she should have just got her black ass on the black bus.
We talk about Rosa Parks. There's a difference between natural immigration or migration between the races and forced desegregation. When you force it, you cause animosity and chaos. When you let it be a natural thing, it happens a lot more smoother. In the South, even in places where there was discrimination on the law book, not everybody discriminated against each other. There was black and white people getting together all the time. It was certain places where they held true to those structural things that were Democrats put into place to cause division. I don't think that she should have forced that. I think that black people should have had their own bus line and became competitive, and then therefore they merged. Because that's the problem with our societies. We gave up a lot of our own generational wealth trying to get in the bed with a group of people that didn't really want us at the time. We had resources that we forfeited. We had education systems that we could teach our own history if we wanted to, but we forfeited that to stage this issue that wasn't as prevalent as Martin Luther King and the others made it. It wasn't as prevalent. People weren't just killing each other in the Deep South. It was only isolated situations. That's why they traveled to Birmingham. That's why they traveled to hot spots to create chaos, to get us to where? Where did that get black Americans today? Are we more generationally wealthy than we were then? Is racism stopped? Is discrimination stopped? That stuff didn't do nothing. They tried to push a political agenda to benefit themselves and not really benefit.
Wait, so now he does think there's racism and discrimination because it never stopped? Tatum, I'm having a hard time following you. Plus, now you're saying we should have had our own bus companies. Did we have them or did we not? Well, let me clarify. We had our own buses. The Safe Bus Company was started in 1926 in North Carolina by a black guy. And in fact, during all of this Jim Crow stuff and oppression, we've had many entrepreneurs. We had black businesses. Here's a whole list of black entrepreneurs during the Jim Crow era. A whole list. You can go through and read it if you want, pause it if you want, but there's a whole list of black entrepreneurs. Like I said, we had a very good, striving community at one point, and that was with all the oppression still very strong on us. So that's why I don't get why they call black people victims or have a victim mentality. That's the last thing we have. We were always trying to strive, always fighting against all the oppression, still making our own schools, creating our own bus lines, having our own banks. And I guess you're wondering, well, if that's true, what the hell happened? You want to know what happened? It all got destroyed. One of the most notable events of this happening was in 1921, Tulsa Race Massacre. Destroyed black-owned businesses and the homes of black residents in Greenwood, Oklahoma, a thriving black community known as Black Wall Street. Had our own airports and everything. That whole thing got burned down. Hundreds of blacks got murdered, to this day buried in the ground. No one has been exhumed, so black people could have family members in there that they don't even know. Black people could be connected to old businesses and money that they don't even know. A lot of old money got destroyed because of that. And after that, the black community never quite made it to that level of success. Though we are slowly getting better because we're not victims. We don't give up. In fact, we're probably the race with the lowest suicide rate in the world. Our ancestors and us have gone through so much crap, we can damn near take anything. But I find it very interesting how in some breaths, Tatum's like, we suck, we're victims, we play victimhood, we make excuses. And then in the next breath, he's like, we had entrepreneurs, we invented this and that. Why don't people know Ben Carson's? He's one of the greatest black men alive. You can't play both parts. Either we suck or we're incredible. Which one is it? I also find it funny that you'll say all the oppression that we went through made us better people, stronger people, but somehow it didn't put any negative effect on our community. Really?
That stuff didn't do nothing. They tried to push a political agenda to benefit themselves and not really benefit black people.
Okay, so I guess like to talk about that. It's like even with like what you're saying right now.
Can you move a little closer to the mic so you can have it?
Yeah, even to like what you're saying right now today, we have all races of people at the same bus. And I understand like it should have been more peaceful, but sometimes you need to put force to get what we need.
I don't disagree with you. I disagree with how it happened, but I don't disagree with you.
But it needed to happen. Even if you disagree with me, it needed to happen. Because even though MLK was peaceful, what happened to him?
No, I think
MLK wasn't as peaceful.
No, I think that we're on the same page. MLK was not violent, like we saw in 2020 when people burning down places. That he was not violent. So MLK's approach was way different, which I respect his approach. I think that we should have desegregated. I just think that it should have been a more of a setup where black people were.
As far as I can remember, Rosa Parks' way wasn't violent either. Does Tatum believe in segregation or something? He's literally saying, I think Rosa Parks should have did something different, even though what she did made the difference. Make it make sense. She didn't hurt anybody. He's literally saying since she forced herself into the front of the bus when white people didn't want her there, he thinks that's wrong. I can't believe I'm hearing this. And in fact, I can't think of actually one person that violently got us rights.
Financially stable before we jumped over into these other people's stuff. That's the only thing. Me and you agree that we should desegregate. Me and you agree that it's great that we can all be on the campus together. We agree on that. I just think we should have let it naturally happen and get the government out of the way than for us to try to force the government to put their hand in it. People I don't think would have been segregating themselves. The government mandated Jim Crow laws. That's the government is the problem. And what party initiated that? Democrats. Who still, and black people, 90-some% still vote for these same people.
So he thinks people aren't racist, but the government forced them to be racist. This is the story he wants to tell us. People aren't racist in America. The Democrats said they had to be racist.
That put in these racist laws in Jim Crow South. So, you know, go ahead. I use your question because I could talk for 3 hours. Go ahead.
Just a quick thing regarding the whole like Democrat thing. I understand that, like in the past, Democrats were, you know, linked to the KKK, but really think about it now. Who's wearing these hoods now? People on the far right.
No. What do Democrats do for black people today?
What does anybody do for black people?
No. You get it, Matt. You just ask the question on mic so we can have it on there.
What does anybody do for black people today?
That's a good question. That's what black people should be looking into, right? Democrats definitely not doing enough for black people.
So Tatum goes, what has Democrats done for black people today? Then another guy jumps on the mic and says, what has anybody done for black people? And Tatum's response is, that's what black people should be trying to figure out. What? But we know for sure Democrats haven't done anything. Nobody has done anything. Republicans or Democrats. When it actually comes down to it, none of them have done anything. But Tatum wants to make sure you know that Democrats didn't do anything. We know that for sure. We know both sides for sure did nothing.
You can't name a policy. I'll put money on it today, right now. You can't name a policy that Democrats have done to benefit black people right now. I could tell you some that they benefit illegals.
But policies are
LGBTQ, I could go down the list.
Policies is nothing but energy. And if we know about basic physics, energy is just a force, but forces have to be acted upon for them to move.
So let's go with the Republican Party. What did Donald Trump do when he was in office? He secured funding for HBCUs, which I think was a positive.
Yeah.
He had these zones, I can't think of the name of it right now, it's skipping my mind, opportunity zones that he initiated. The First Step Act, which I was a part, me and Candace Owens and others were lobbying Congress, even lobbying against Republicans to get this passed. My uncle got out of prison, he got 40 years fed time for selling dope, and he got out early because of the First Step Act. So these are things that affect the black community, and economic success as a country helps everybody.
But at what cost of other countries though? You gotta think about we stealing.
But
we stealing though. We gotta think about that, and then we stealing from our own ancestors and our own countries.
Well, we have a whole argument about the ancestor thing because I think that black people should be more upset with Africans than they should be white people. Because how did we get here?
Well, I'm not African.
I'm not saying you.
I'm Caribbean. You see my flag.
Well, they should be mad.
I'm Trinidadian.
You should be mad at the Africans.
I ain't mad at nobody.
Well, okay.
I don't hold grudges. That's the
okay.
problem that we got because we got narratives that are being pushed for us to be mad, and then we don't know where to take our anger out because first of all, we have emotional intelligence. We're not emotionally intelligent. Yeah. So there's nowhere for us to go for us to even be able to express ourselves or to even know how to express ourselves. So we take it out on each other, and that's the problem. That's where we at right now.
But see, you have the problem, and you also have the solution. It's to reverse the things that you're saying. So how about when you're on campus, how do you treat your brothers and sisters? How do you treat white people? That's going to be what
folks
makes
know
you different.
I'm a beacon of light, and I stand with God, one and only.
Then
everybody know that.
Then you continue to do that, and you'll be a light to other people. Everybody here on campus, the way that you make a change is you being to change yourself. It's the same thing with God.
Let me stop it right there and point out Tatum is failing to realize that anytime black people reach a certain status, especially as a culture, it has been demolished and broken down again. But anyways, at this point, I have heard so much of Tatum's debate on how he sees this topic that I have literally heard him say everything. That we strive, that we're strong people, that we're ignorant, that we make bad choices, that the world is racist, that the world's not racist, that America is at its greatest right now, that we need to make America great again. He has literally covered every little aspect of any perspective you can have on this situation, but still saying that he stands that we play victimhood. Play victimhood? That sounds so funny. Is that what I'm supposed to be saying? Are we playing victimhood? He still stands on that. He still stands on that. and that we're full of excuses, and that really we just need to motivate each other, go get an education, and come back and fix our community. And I'm so sorry to announce that this concludes my 3-part series on exposing Tatum as being a grifter. And if you happen to have any thoughts or comments you want to add to this video, then comment below. Tell me what you think. You know, something smells very fishy about Tatum and his life. Something is missing. He says he comes from the ghetto or the hoods, apparently was a phenomenal athlete, got a full ride scholarship to a university, became a cop. He clearly isn't that old, so he's no longer a cop. I don't know how long he was a cop. He doesn't really even talk about why he quit being a cop. And next thing you know, he's in a political circle, sometimes on the news, sometimes talking to big political heads, and also has like over 1 million followers on YouTube. At what point and what exactly happened from him being a cop to him gaining all this access to media, political figures, and all these followers on YouTube? Is it organic or is he planted? Is Tatum a plant? Is he put there on purpose to do this? What do you guys think? Because me just being an average ass person, I have no idea how I would start talking to political figures or how I would get on CNN or something. No idea. So how did he get these connections? What's really going on? Does he work for the CIA? But whether or not he's a spy or works for the CIA, you know I'm gonna need you to hit that bell like the hunchback. Also click that hit checker button and sub ride with me. And I'll see you on the next trip.
Day and night, keep it real.